everyone out there. Thank you for joining me today on Relationship Coaching Live. I am very excited today because I have a fantastic guest. She's a celebrity journalist and she interviewed like A-list celebrities. And she actually had to work in the entertainment business as a woman before the Me Too movement. So she's going to spill some tea. So, are you guys ready to join us with this amazing guest, which I am going to call on the phone? Her name is Reba Merrill, and she's a celebrity journalist, and she is on the phone now. I am calling her.
Hello?
Hi, Reba. You're on the air. You're live.
I love being live. Thanks, Grace.
Oh, you're welcome. You are so welcome. Get a little closer to the phone. If you can put, so we can get better volume, that would be amazing.
How do you like me like this?
Yes, much better, much better.
Okay.
So let's start from the very beginning. You started at CBS, correct? And you had your own show, and then moved on to interview celebrities. And you started before the Me Too movement. That's what I told the audience. And so, being a woman in the entertainment business back before Me Too, can you give us the tea? How was that?
Well, when CBS got finished with me because of my age, so we just set the record straight, and it was my show, but I shared it with a man, and I just want to say how I got the job.
Okay.
I have very long legs and a short body. So when we sat next to each other, he towered over me. But when we stood up, I had to take my shoes off.
No.
That was television.
Oh my God, that is crazy. What is that about? Wow.
That's about male vanity. Actually, the show in San Diego was my lifeline to Hollywood, and I loved it. It just so happens that my co-host thought he was Ron Burgundy, or maybe Ron Burgundy copied him. I'll never know.
Wow, that's crazy. So what other things did you encounter that were, sexist or were discriminating against women?
It had to do with going to Hollywood. I had a colleague from New York who CBS was his client, and he did me a favor and set me up at a major studio. Sent them a tape, set up the appointment. I go in. I am meeting with the president of a division who was just starting to do off-camera interviews. I came to LA just to do interviews. And he looked at my tape. He told me I looked like I came from Central Casting. I didn't know what that meant. I'm not naive, but I was coming from San Diego. And he laid out all the things that they were doing. He actually showed me what they were doing to make the product that they were sending out. And then he said, I have a meeting, so can I take you to dinner, and I will bring a list of all the films, and you pick what you want to work on. I met him in Beverly Hills for dinner. And when dessert came, he asked me how many films could I take on at a time, which meant going on a film set and shooting for 2 to 3 weeks. And I told him, and then he said, as they were serving the dessert, well, all you have to do is go down on me 3 times a week.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God. I've heard that from other women before the Me Too. They had to work the industry before the Me Too. And that was very prevalent. It seems like the going down thing was quite common back
Well,
then.
you don't get pregnant that way, I guess.
Oh my goodness. And it's also just servicing them, really. That's what it's all about. Right?
Well, it also, I felt, showed who the power was. I mean, I was very much aware of who the power was. But I owe this man a great deal. First of all, he called me a week later and said, "Are you coming to work for the studio?" I said no, because I thought it was a joke, and then I didn't think it was a joke. I have never told the world who he is or what studio it took place, because after he finished working in Hollywood, he went to work for Trump. And I just figured he's not worth taking on. So I won't tell you who it is.
No,
And the
no, please
interesting
don't.
thing is, I was not a starlet. I was already a woman,
Yes.
grown up woman that had an Emmy. So now ask me another question, because that's the only one I ever had in Hollywood about Me Too. Being a woman in Hollywood is different.
Absolutely. And how about the pay? Is that different? Do they pay women less? I think now that's changed, but back then, did they pay you less than a man who did the same exact thing you did?
Interestingly enough, I wasn't aware of that. I was aware of it in television. And when I complained, their answer was, "Your co-host has a family to support and you have a husband supporting you." But when I came to Hollywood, they didn't know that I had a husband, that I had a they didn't know anything about me. And the first job that I got at a major studio, even though I had worked on 3 films for somebody else, so I got paid whatever they were going to pay me.
Yes.
When I got to Universal and she gives me a job, because she had been on the television show in San Diego, and then looks at me and apologizes and said, "This is the only money I can pay you in my budget to do this." And I looked at her and I said, "I want to make this work. I'll take it." And then I got in the car, and Grace, I screamed. I know it's not polite to talk money, but I'm going to tell you what she said. She paid me $10,000 more than I made working for CBS for a year.
Wow.
What she taught me is, the next person that offered me a job, I looked at them and said, "Tell me what your budget is and we'll discuss it." So I never got paid less than.
I love
But
that.
but it was the idea that she taught me. She didn't realize she was teaching me to say, "What is your budget?" Obviously, studios don't look at creative people like creative people look at themselves.
Apparently, yes. It's more of a commodity. You're like a product, basically,
Yes,
right?
and being creative, I was always grateful for every job I got, because no different than an actress or an actor, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop and I would stop working. But it didn't happen.
Wow. Wow. So you interviewed a lot of celebrities, right?
Yes.
What was your favorite interview? If you don't want to say what it was, we want, because sometimes people don't want to
No,
do.
no, 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 no. It's very interesting. I'm
Yes.
going to give you the answer that I used to give, and then I'm going to give you the new answer.
Okay.
I used to say Cher was my favorite interview. I
Yeah.
interviewed her for the film Mask for Universal,
Yeah.
and she was playing a black leather jacket rocker mom. And my job was to make everybody aware of her in Hollywood for an Oscar nomination. It was early enough. She didn't get it, but that was the origin of the job. And we interviewed her at a photographer's studio as she was being photographed for the cover of Us magazine. This was like one of my first interviews, and it was certainly my first interview with a woman. And Cher opened up. Nobody told me what I could do and what I couldn't do, and told me intimate stories that I had no right to know. And
Wow.
all of this is on video. I will tell you what she said about Sony. Sonny. She said to me, "Nothing in the world scared me after Sony, after Sonny died." He had such a hold on her. He met her at 17. She always
Oh.
wanted to be an actress. He
Mhm.
told her she was going to be a singer. And he controlled her life. When she told me stuff like that, I mean, that was astounding. She told me what she earned in Las Vegas for a week, $300,000 a week, and couldn't get an agent, a theatrical agent, to rep her. That kind of stuff nearly, I thought, this is what Hollywood's all about. I'm going to love this because I think what makes me a good interviewer is that I'm very nosy.
Right.
But of course, I can't say that publicly. I have to tell you, I have a natural curiosity.
Yes, well, that's what it takes because I love interviewing people and learning. I learned so much from interviewing. It's just a fantastic job. And to get paid for that is so amazing. Um,
Actually, you're right, because I would have paid them. But I'll tell you why Cher is not. I'm going to tell you why Cher is not my number one. Is that I went back and interviewed her again after she won the Oscar. Remember, this was her first big film
yeah.
coming out. And she treated me like I was a piece of dirt. And I just think, I'm on the set shooting them, making the movie, staying out of everybody's way,
Yeah.
having a set time to do the interview with her. And the film was called Unfaithful, and it starred Ryan O'Neal. Paul Mazursky was the director. She hated them. So who did she take it out on? Me.
Oh
So I never
no.
can say she was my favorite, but I will tell you who my favorite is, because as a woman, I like things that are hard. No matter how hard they are, it kind of excites me. I picked Harrison Ford.
Yeah, when we talked, you mentioned that. And that interview is on your website, right?
Both of my Harrison Ford, I interviewed him 5 times, but the first time I interviewed him was his first junket interview for Star Wars, loaded with marijuana, so he thought I was his best friend. It is a totally unedited interview, and it's a one-camera shoot, and you see what Hollywood was doing in the late 70s when Star Wars came out. The second time I interviewed him was for Air Force One.
Okay.
And when I walked into the suite, he was stirring his coffee and he looked at me. He said, "Nice to see you." I have to tell you, I know you're impressed with me, Grace. Don't be. I turned around to see who he was talking to.
Oh my gosh, I've totally done that with celebrities. I had that happen to me too with I'm not gonna say who, but yeah,
Okay.
somebody did that. And I was like, "You talking to me?" Right?
Yeah. So I smiled to cover my fupa.
No.
I did. I smiled and I said to him, "Well, don't worry about the questions. I know all the answers." And Grace, those were the magic words.
Nice.
Because what I was saying to him, I wanted to do this interview so much that I went and researched who you are. Therefore, it gave me the courage, after this little dialogue, as we walked into the suite, I sat down and I said, "I want all the shots. Mr. Ford, could we just have a couple that shows my family I'm still working?" And he smiled. And then I said to him, "You play the best heroes in film. Are you getting back at the bullies that beat you up at school?"
Oh.
And he laughed. I found it, by the way, on the internet. He had already said it. One of the things that I discovered in doing a lot of research is that if I can read it in print, it becomes much more powerful on video.
Ah.
And that's what I went for, no matter who I interviewed. So
yes.
I picked Harrison Ford. He's always been nice to me, and he's always given me fleshed out human interviews. And I guess if you look at the one on my website from not only Star Wars, he didn't know any better in Star Wars.
Yes.
But he was a superstar when I sat down with him for Air Force One, and I happened to ask the same question about leaving the industry to be a carpenter, and I get two different answers. I get the true answer at Star Wars, and I get the super movie star answer at Air Force One.
That is so funny. And I'm actually sharing screen. I'm sharing your website with the viewers. And you do have a couple of Harrison Ford interviews. I can see it, Star Wars, and then later on. And if you guys want to watch the interviews, they're fantastic. RebaMerrill.com right there. Here's the page. You can watch the interviews. And you have interviewed, let me go through the list, okay? Sandra Bullock, Jennifer Aniston. Is she a sweetheart?
Let me tell you the Jennifer Aniston story. You asked for a little bit of tea?
Yes,
Okay.
please give us the tea.
Okay, I have to believe there's an angel on my shoulder. After Brad and Jennifer split,
Yes.
Jennifer did 3 films consecutively, so that there was no way the public, but worse than that, the press could get to her. She was on a film set, 3 different film sets. Now, there are no rules when a film gets released, and there are no rules if Reba even gets asked to do the interview, because I was a freelancer, and I was at the mercy of the studio, but they had to ask me. It wasn't a given. And so they picked me to do the first film of the 3 that was coming out, and it was called
Derailed?
Derailed. Yes.
Derailed, yeah. I have the screen here, sharing the screen of the Jennifer Aniston interview.
Okay, by the
Yes.
time she had hidden from the press, Brad was romping with Angelina, and there were all kinds of rumors that she might be a child. Okay?
Wow.
So when I sit down with her, first of all, I walked in and she said, "Oh, is it nice to see you?" I also interviewed her 4 or 5 times. I kept thinking they don't remember me, but maybe sometimes because I was at this point the oldest woman working on the press junkets.
Wow.
And so I said, "Well, we can get started. Mama's here." And they all laughed. When I can get a star to laugh, it makes life a lot easier.
Absolutely.
And so we did the interview, and the film itself is about infidelity. Like I said, there was an angel on my shoulder. The studio said, "You're never going to ask her about infidelity." But I had the whole interview. It was done. I waited for the last question. And I said, this film could do a lot for infidelity. It's better than the boiling bunny.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, you think so?" And I said, "I need you to say something about infidelity." And she looked at me. I didn't know if she was going to throw me out. And she said, "Infidelity. It's just like Russian roulette. You can never tell when it's going to pop up."
Oh.
That interview, that little segment has played, I cannot tell you how many times, all over the world.
I love that. That is so cool. If you guys want to watch the interview, it's on Reba's website, RebaMerrill.com. And you can see right there, I have it on Jennifer Aniston. Amazing. I love that.
Can I just add a postscript to that?
Yes.
When she did a film called Cake, where
Yes.
they made her fat, and she was addicted to drugs, but not as a drug addict, but dealing with severe chronic pain.
Yes.
There was a party, and she seemed to recognize me. And I went up to her and I said, "Oh, Jennifer, this is my farewell tour."
Oh.
I had stopped working. And I said, "And I wanted to thank you for what you did for me." I said, "You gave me an opportunity to look like a really terrific interviewer.
Oh.
And most of all, thank you for being so open for the film Derailed, where you were willing to talk about infidelity." And she smiled.
Oh.
And then I had asked her, this is a really unprofessional question, could we take a picture? And she says to me, I can't take a picture with you, or I'd have to take it with everybody. Now, it just so happens that I was at the party with my husband, who at this point is on the last leg of cancer. He's not doing well. So he sat there. I brought him food. I sat next to him, and I'm getting ready to help him get up to go into the screening for Cake. And she comes over to me and she said, let's take that picture.
Oh, how sweet.
A genuine person.
Yeah,
Really.
her vibe, it totally shows that she's a sweetheart. You can tell. You can totally tell. And I'm glad that you're proving that she is a total sweetheart. What a beautiful, beautiful soul. I love her. I've always loved her. And okay, so let's move. We don't have a lot of time. I might have to have you back.
Well, that would be my pleasure.
Yes, that would be amazing. Because we keep these to like 30 minutes. But, you know, let me ask you about, I know you can't see the screen, but everybody can see. And they're like, ooh, okay. So you interviewed Will Smith, right? And we all know what happened at the Oscars.
And neither do I.
We all know what happened. He punched Chris Rock in the face.
No, I know what he did. I watched the Oscars.
Yes.
I just don't know. I'll tell you how I looked at it. And obviously, I am a white woman.
Yes.
I looked at it that he was defending his wife.
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't look at it that he was a black man hitting
somebody.
Oh,
it doesn't matter. Color doesn't matter. It was just like unexpected. So my thing is, I did not expect somebody like Will Smith to do something like that. I understand, in the moment, sometimes we do stuff like that. That's then we're sorry we did, but he always seemed like a sweetheart to me. So it seemed very out of character for him to do something like that. So when you interviewed him, what was your perception of him? What was the vibe?
The vibe was that he cared more about what his parents thought when he did things. Like he was very careful in the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And there was only one story that surprised me, and of course, thinking that I would remember every film, I can't remember. It was a film with Gene Hackman, and I can't remember the name of the film. But in it, there was a chess player on the set, and Will was playing chess with him that his father taught him, and he kept losing. So he tells me in the interview, I found out who was the greatest chess player in the U.S., flew him into the set, had him teach me how to play chess so I could win. And that was the first time that I really felt the real Will Smith opened his mouth. I think everything that came out of his mouth was what he thought the public should hear, because he wanted his parents to hear.
That is so interesting, and it does make sense. It's almost like two different sides of him, and he's just showing one of them. And maybe at the Oscars, the other one came out like, I don't care anymore what my parents think. I'm just
no.
No?
You want to know? She gave him that look. If you look at the footage,
yes, she did. She
gave him the look.
Yeah, because he was laughing in the beginning because it was all in good fun. But I'm sure there must be some kind of beef that they have between Chris and Will. That's my feeling. I don't know why.
I don't know. I can't. That I'm not going to comment.
No. I mean, I'm just saying that you don't have to comment on that. That's my perception. That's what I think. They might have some beef. I mean, I just feel that. Okay, we're gonna do the headlining guest that you interviewed, and that's gonna be Robin Williams, because I heard nothing but good things about Robin. My friend Rick Overton was friends with him, and he absolutely adored him, and he said he was the nicest man ever.
Absolutely, but Robin and I had a thing going.
What?
Oh, yes. All he wanted to do when I interviewed him, this time I interviewed him 5 times.
Yes.
And I would walk in, All he wanted to do was make me laugh. Now, I
Oh.
should explain that these interviews that we're talking about played in 60 countries, and the audio track had to be clear because they were going to remove my voice and replace it with the anchor who was supposedly doing the interview and in the language of the country. So he knew, because he's a little boy,
Yeah.
he knew that his job was to make me laugh.
Oh.
So the first thing I did was walk in and say, "Excuse me, I'm using your bathroom." And I would go in and go to the bathroom because he's going to make me hold it in. I always made sure I used his toilet. And then it came out and we started. And he went after me. Every time I asked him something, he would answer me some part comedy and part Robin.
I love that.
And finally, one time I said to him, "I know who you are. You give me a comedy routine so I can't find out what makes you tick and who you really are."
I like that. That's a very profound thought. Yes.
And so he says, and I said, "Do you know who you are?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Are you going to tell me?" And he said, "No." But at least it was human.
Yes, absolutely. Oh,
I have to say,
yes.
I cried when I found out he died.
I know.
And I actually wrote something to the Hollywood Reporter.
Oh.
Because, and I've never done that. But he was so kind to me.
Oh.
I mean, you have to understand something, Grace. I was only as good as these people were willing to make themselves appear.
Absolutely.
For whatever brief time we had together, that they were also human and not giving me the static answers.
Yes. I totally understand as an interviewer, it's bringing out the real person. And, you have that gift where you bring out the real person because you are so open and vulnerable and real. So I think that makes them feel comfortable and like, oh, I can talk to her and tell her stuff that I wouldn't tell somebody else.
Yes.
That's what makes a great interviewer, and you are a fantastic interviewer. And people,
Thank
please go. You're welcome, and you guys go to rebamerrill.com, as you can see on the screen that I'm sharing, and watch all these interviews with all these A-list celebrities. They're amazing. You will love Reba, and hopefully next time we get you on, we'll be able to do through StreamYard. We'll figure out the tech part. Okay.
Oh, I'll bring in my big IT guys. I just didn't have enough time.
No, totally.
I promise you, I will bring in my IT guys. Actually, they're here, but we didn't have enough time to hook up. So I'll make sure I get them here earlier.
That sounds amazing. And I'd love to have you back maybe in a couple of months or so. And we'll have time to figure out StreamYard on your end. And we don't know. We had some kind of weird that she couldn't hear me. And I don't know. I tried to figure out what it was and we couldn't figure it out. So we'll figure it out. It's probably like one click that we need to do. And
of course, isn't that life? Grace?
I know. It's like one click. And it's probably staring at us in the face and we cannot figure it out. But we'll figure it out next time. And Reba will be back. If you enjoyed the interview, please let me know in the comments. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, The State of Grace Fraga. And follow Reba on all the platforms. It's Reba Merrill on all platforms. And you will not regret it. And watch her interviews. They're amazing. Thank you so much, Reba, for being on Relationship Coaching Live. And I will talk to you soon.
It'll be my pleasure. Thanks, Grace. It was a great interview. And I know a good interview when I hear one.
Oh, thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
All right. Bye. All right, you guys. I brought you the treat. I brought you the celebrity tea. I brought you this amazing woman who made it in Hollywood as a celebrity journalist before the Me Too movement. She did it. She's an amazing lady. I met her at a show. I did a private show, and she was there. She came after the show, and we became fast friends. We talked for like an hour and a half. And I was like, I gotta have you on my podcast. So I'm so happy that she said yes. And you guys tune in next time. Next week, we're going to continue our narcissistic abuse series, Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. And if you have any topics that you want to talk about, any ideas, like Grace, we want you to talk about dating. We want you to talk about anything related to relationship, even your relationship with Siri or Alexa. I'm not kidding. Because we can totally talk about that because AI is now taking over in a great way. I think I see it as a very positive thing. But anyway, I'll see you guys and thank you for tuning in. As always, I love you and have fun the rest of your week. And I'll see you next week, 11:30.